Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. It's, Pat K here, or Patrick Raymond Kempfer, if you want to be a dick about it. So, today's an interesting day. As of today, I have been sober for 2 years. Two. Now, this is not the first time I've achieved this goal. And it was a goal. It's not like it just happened by accident. But I mean, it was on purpose, is what I'm saying. I did it purposely. I wasn't just confined to a limited space with no access. There's plenty of access. I live in fucking Wisconsin. I mean, there's booze everywhere. It practically grows out of the ground. But yeah, there's something really cool about this 2 years and this day. Well, I don't say cool, but definitely very interesting. Because 7 years ago today, my son Journey was born at like 22 weeks, which, if you know anything about human development, that is considered not viable. So he only lived for a very short period of time. His mother, Mackenzie, held him right after he came out. And then her parents who were there, they each held him. And then I got to hold him. And sadly, shortly after that, he died in my hands. And for the next 5 years, I was a wreck. I mean, I was destroyed. And during that time, I did have 1 year of sobriety, but my heart was not in it. I basically just did it to try to like get out from under a bridge and to get like some stability, but like up here and in here, I was fucked up. And not to say that I'm not still super fucked up. I mean, I'm still kind of a mess. But I'm a little better, a little bit. At least I'm working on the thoughts and the feelings that torture me, and I'm not using drugs and alcohol and calling that coping. Those aren't coping mechanisms; those are doping mechanisms. And while it's very difficult sometimes when I get overwhelmed by insane thoughts, self-destructive impulses, and overwhelming feelings of despair and hopelessness. I'm not immediately resorting to a drink or a drug. I mean, not to say that I haven't, tried a few things to ease my suffering. Like, I mean, I've tried medications and stuff, and oftentimes they're not very effective. And it's disheartening to have to keep trying this trial and error, with doctors and whatnot to try to find this like perfect cocktail or whatever. And I don't even know if that's really the answer. I think more than anything, I've been trying to learn, just better coping skills. In order to do that, I have to put myself in front of places and people that can offer those things, and that can be really hard. But I've taken some strides. I'm currently just in waiting because I lost my HMO for the month of January. But once that kicks back in, I'm going to a place called Rogers Memorial Behavioral Health Hospital, something like that, to do PHP, which is a partial hospitalization program. It's basically like a more intensive IOP, intensive outpatient treatment. But it doesn't just focus on alcohol and drug symptoms or behaviors. It's more psychological and emotive. And And I'm actually looking forward to that. That's actually something that I want to do, that I pursued, per Mindy's suggestion, uh, so that I can, stop being such a fucking pain in the ass. I don't think that was really our intention, but I mean, so if I'm not suffering, we're not suffering. Basically, how it is. Um, so yeah, like having had some length of sobriety in the past, um, 7 years initially, starting in 2009. And I got to tell you, getting clean the first time was easy. I mean, it wasn't necessarily simple, but it was kind of easy. Like everything was just sort of set up. Like I went to jail. I got offered an opportunity to go to treatment, which is not in jail. I got put on a bracelet to keep me accountable. For fear of possibly going to prison for 6 years, which I didn't know exactly how much time I was looking at until like way later. but I went to treatment, and the day after I got there, I was introduced to 12-step recovery through Narcotics Anonymous, and that was super inspiring. That was like real people living real lives without drugs and fucking drinking. And that blew my mind. Like I didn't even think that there was this other option, as I've talked about in my podcast, Overdose Media War Stories, yada yada yada. If you haven't seen that, there'll be a link below. But or maybe, I don't know, the video will probably just pop up at the end. I don't know. You're smart people. You can figure it out. You've made it this far on the internet. I'm sure you can figure it out. But yeah, like getting clean that time, was kind of easy. And like I said, things were just sort of set before me, and all I had to do is just, once I had some momentum, I just had to just keep moving forward. But I didn't want to just go forward. I wanted to go forward and up, I wanted to become successful. And I don't just mean like with money or anything, but like I wanted to be a person that people respected and appreciated and could trust, and I did. I became that person. I became so locked into being that guy, though, that when things started to like get really shaky for me, and I started to experience vulnerabilities that I couldn't express, things quickly fell apart, and I fell back into drugs and shooting fucking heroin long enough to need it. And then I was on Suboxone for like a year and a half, and all the while drinking every fucking day, and just being really miserable, And then when I got the opportunity to get sober again, I tried to go to treatment. That didn't work out, so I was like, fuck it, just out of anger, I'm just gonna push forward anyway. And then I found myself in a situation shortly after, where the girl that I'd been seeing, Mackenzie, became pregnant. And of course, that at first scared the fuck out of me. But then I got really excited about it. I started making up this whole scenario of like what my new life could be, And then when, she went into premature labor, and he was born and subsequently died, like that whole vision of my life fell apart. So it's like the life that I had built, in recovery fell apart. And then this new life that I thought I was going to build fell apart. And then it was just like, not only do I not know what to do, I don't fucking care. I just didn't care anymore, and that's a really dangerous place to be. Just total fucking apathy and misery. So these last 2 years, I've been sober and trying to learn new ways of dealing with all of this trauma. And it's been difficult. like I earned this 2 years. I mean, not to say that, I didn't do a great job before and doing stuff or whatever. Like, I don't want to sell that all short, but this has been so much more challenging, because then it was just like I was on such a trajectory that, like, like I wasn't thinking about using really ever. And I still think about it a lot, like, and not just because of what's in me, but like, everything that's going on around us. I mean, it's fucking bonkers what is happening in the world around us. And not just the world, but like, to our neighbors down the street in Minnesota, obviously, and other places. And I'm scared. I'm scared that, like, we're going to have to deal with what Minnesota and LA dealt with, soon, simply because we have a Democratic governor, you know? I don't remember if Wisconsin was a primarily Trump voting state in the last election or not. Maybe we'll just barely get out of the way of this, but it doesn't make any difference, really. I mean, it doesn't, it's not going to change what's going on around us. So trying to weigh the emotional exhaustion and, like, the temporal overload that is going on with, just my own emotions and feelings. It's hard. It's a challenge every day. Every day is a challenge, but it's a challenge that I wake up every day that I'm willing to accept. Okay, that's not entirely true. Some days I'm not willing to accept the challenge and I just don't get out of bed. You know, uh, I for some things, sometimes, I try to believe that everybody does their best, but your best, that's relative. Sometimes your best is getting out there and going to work and just killing it, and doing a great job and, getting an attaboy from the boss and, you know, uh, just whatever, just all the imagination can give you of what a successful day is. But sometimes your best is just getting out of bed to go to the bathroom and wash your hands and maybe put a little bit of food in your body, At the very least, I mean, I get up and I will try to take care of the needs of my dog, because I can't just sit in selfishness and self-pity, only thinking of myself and my problems. There's more going on, It's not like my life is a mess. It's like life is life. I'm a mess in life, you know? When I decided that I was gonna stop drinking back in well, actually it was like November or December of 2023. I wasn't just gonna just do it like an idiot because I'd been drinking so much. I was drinking like a half gallon a day. I couldn't just stop, It's medically dangerous. Um, so I set up a whole lot of things first. I got myself into like counseling, set up an IOP program that would be ready and waiting for me when I got out of rehab. I got the rehab thing put together. And when they gave me the call to say, okay, you can come in on Monday, I got that call on a Friday, January 19th. I had no idea what date it was. I didn't. I was like, okay, good. I took my last drink. I went to the fucking UW hospital and got admitted. And I was in the ICU for what I thought I was going to be there for just a couple of days. But because I was so bad off physically, they insisted on keeping me a little bit longer. So I didn't go into rehab the following Monday. I went in the next Wednesday. But it just so happened that I got sober on January 19th. And that's so weird that became the day, because for 5 years, I'd been you know, treating that day like it was like it was a repeat of the worst day of my life. And having gotten sober on that day totally redefines what that is, you know? It's like I still have all these, you know, hurt feelings about it and like torturous, thoughts, but it's like it's it's like juxtaposed by this incredible feeling of like gratitude and accomplishment, which I think just really goes to show that nothing is defined by any one thing. No one is defined by any one thing. There's conflict all over, but conflict isn't always necessarily a negative thing. Doesn't mean it's really in battle with something. It just means that there might be contradictions, and I'm learning that maybe that's okay. Maybe that's how balance is achieved. I don't know. In recognition of my son Journey's birthday and my 2-year anniversary, I am going to see a friend this afternoon, and then I'm going to go to a meeting later and allow myself to be recognized for my 2-year achievement, and then go have a nice meal with my lady and whoever else that's at the meeting feels like joining us. And yeah, tomorrow will be another day. All right, well, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. And if you haven't, please like this video and subscribe. Check out my podcast, Overdose Media. Well, actually, the channel is called Overdose Media. The podcast is called War Stories and Other Tales from the Horrors of Addiction. And if that's something that you find interesting and you'd like to join me on that podcast, I'd love. I just got it going, but I'd love to have guests and give people space to talk about some of the weird things that they experience and just somehow survived throughout their time using. Okay. Well, that's all for now. Hope you're all having a good day. Oh, and happy Martin Luther King Day. Bye for now.